tuning in to this event. So today we are going to have a really exciting webinar on modernizing Swing applications, getting your Java Swing application to run in browser, and then modernizing the Swing app use case by use case, view by view, at your own pace, and staying in Java. My name is Mika Andersen, and today I'm with Eftin Turkmen, our engineering manager, as well as Soros, who just joined this session at the last minute, our senior engineer from the modernization team. Eftin had some incident and broke his rib, so he's having a bit hard time talking, but let's hear how things will go. But before we jump into the agenda, would you like, gentlemen, to give a brief introduction who you are? Eftin?
Yeah, I'm Eftin from modernization team, engineering manager, and I've been working in Vaadin like 3 years. Before that, I was interested in modernizing other languages to Java, like some legacy mainframe languages and etc. And that's how I met with Vaadin and the modernization team in general. And we are now in the progress of migrating Swing applications to web at the moment. But before that, we discovered that there are intermediary steps that we have to take, like bridging the Swing applications and migrating to web as soon as possible in the quickest way, and then gradually migrating the Swing code base to web architecture enabled code base supported by Vaadin, for sure.
As a long-time Swing user and developer, like back in the days, I'm super excited about this topic, and I'm really waiting for us to dive into the details and see how everything works. But before that, Soros, hey, how are you doing? Who are
Hi,
you?
everyone.
Where are you coming from?
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Surush. I've been working at Vaadin almost for 6 years now. Been contributing to the flow and also Hila sub frameworks of the whole platform at Vaadin. Recently, I joined some months ago, maybe 8 months ago. It was that I joined efforts for this new challenge that we took on for bringing the Swing applications to web. And yeah, that's it.
All right, awesome. So we would like to make this session interactive. So if you have any questions, we are happy to take those questions during the session. And of course, we have reserved some time in the end of the event, so we can go through any questions that you might have had during the event. So yeah, no worries. We can take them either directly as they appear or in the end of the session, but we try to tackle as many as we can during the presentation. And yeah, it's going to be both technical, but also we are going to cover some business aspects of the modernization topic, as it's a fairly broad topic and it only doesn't involve and affect developers, but it's also a bit broader discussion in the organizations. Would you, Eftin, want to share your screen maybe?
Yes, we can
Do
go.
you have the, let us see, and if I'm able to get it shown here. Yes, here we go.
Yeah. So here we for the Swing bridge approach, there are multiple approaches for modernizing a Swing application or legacy Vaadin applications like V8 and V7 application. This is also the proposed way for doing for those applications also. For migrating the application, you select your use cases depending on your priorities and your throughput and the usage statistics maybe, and whichever you find more important for your business to migrate at the first place. So once you select your business case, you can migrate your application for that specific use case, and eventually you will end up with something like a view like this. Part of the frame is containing a swing bridge canvas component, which renders the Swing application integrated with the rest of the web page as Vaadin form. So you can bidirectionally communicate the data through these uh, structures, let's say the Swing context. We will come to that later on. And once you do the migration for a given use case, then you can add additional intermediary steps to migrate more of your application to web architecture. And more over time, you can select and improve all those little use case details and improve your migration over web. So this is basic approach for this in the Swing bridge context. Like there are other ways to migrate an application. Like instead of selecting use cases, there are approaches like the Big Bang rewrites that we have also tooling for called Dragonfly. This Dragonfly tool starts from analyzing the code and replaces the code base with modern Vaadin versions like version 24 or 25. Currently, we support version 7 to 24 and 25, and 8 to 24 and 25. This is the other end of the story. But the Swing Bridge, in this case of Swing Bridge scenario, the use case selective model is also the same for this application. We currently don't support Dragonfly as the Swing application. Like I'm sure there will be questions about multi-tenancy and how we isolate things like local resources and etc. And Dragonfly will come into play in the answer of those questions.
So sounds like there are multiple approaches to the migration and how one might do the migration. But before reaching that point, surely we've been wondering like, what should we do with this Swing application? And that's typically where things start. Like you have identified some challenges related to your application, and you're considering about the migration. So Efton, before we jump into too much details in how you actually do the migration and handle all these different cases, could we talk a bit about like what is the background? Where do teams usually start from? Like, is it the Swing application that is just eroding and falling apart, or what's going on?
The Swing applications are usually designed and implemented with single tenancy in mind, and also the architecture cannot benefit from the beauties of the web architecture. So in order to migrate to and also there is the like toxic component issue, like we have faced we have seen a few years ago. Like the Swing code base is considered as toxic and should be removed out of the enterprise. So you have to migrate that code base to somewhere else, which is probably the web architecture, right? In order to go forward with a modern architecture, you need to do this.
Yeah, I think in many organizations, people hear that, hey, why do we have to use these old school desktop applications and take care of the installation, and we need to educate our users how to actually install software, or we need to do some other tricks to actually deliver software, and then we need to ensure that everyone patches the software when it gets some challenges and whatnot. So it's lots of overhead around the delivery and deployment model.
Yeah. Also, these applications tend to evolve over like years, and the knowledge base within this application is only at the code side. Like you may not find documentation for that application also. So instead of going deep diving approach, you can switch to web with the Swing bridge approach and gradually migrate your application over time. We don't propose the Swing bridge as a final solution. This is very important, to be honest. It's proposed as an intermediary step for doing the final migration. But before these migrations, we have to assess the code base in order to make it multi-tenancy and in order to make it compatible with the web architecture, and estimate how long the project will consume in terms of human resources and time and money, of course.
And I would assume that this differs quite a bit from application to application. Like you've got some, I don't know, multi-million lines of code Swing apps out there, and there might be some smaller utility applications.
Yeah, we have seen like multi-million line applications, and we have successfully demonstrated for a few customers with those applications also. And although they were like consuming a lot of local resources, we were successfully pinpoint several selected use cases to be executed in a multi-tenant environment.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, I can imagine if you have an application with millions of lines of code, it's been a long journey. You've put lots of engineering effort into the product, and how does the modernization work from there? Like, obviously, you don't want to throw away all that business logic that you've spent the past, I don't know, 2 decades working on.
Yeah, and in like the first thing that we prioritize is to keep the code base and keep the business logic, especially the business logic, of course, as it is now. If you have a bug or a software or a glitch in the business workflow, then that glitch will still persist in the new architecture when you do an automated migration approach. So instead of going this big bang approaches, selecting the use cases, use case by use case, and probably coexisting two platforms at the same time for a while, that you first pick the most important use cases first and carry your users to web at the first place, and select the rest of the use cases gradually over time. This is the proposed approach, and mostly we encourage customers in this way. But
So you do get your Swing application to run in web context, accessible via web browser, right?
yes, the Swing Bridge helps for this, but also the Dragonfly utilities, Dragonfly tooling helps us to go the big bang approach also. We have the components for, let's say, we have this components for web. I mean, think of a border layout in Swing,
Mhm.
and we have those components inside our feature pack that demonstrates this, that resembles the same API of the Swing's border layout. So you can switch the code with a single transformation, like the frame is returning to a feature pack window, and let's say the panel is going to, we have a component like has components, and the buttons going button, and the code structure is persisted, and developers could has still recognized the code base so that they can navigate through the code base in the new architecture, so they don't get alienated.
So the old code base remains the same, at least for the business logic part, but
Yes,
the UI gets replaced with a more modern
yes,
technology.
yes. This is the approach for the feature pack. Like you migrate. This is the actual migration itself. Like you select the use case and you replace all those piece by piece. But this Swing Bridge is for replacing your application, like moving your application to web architecture overnight, or a very short time, because we will come on to that later. Like the multi-tenancy issues has to be reworked, because like local file system access or the printer access, those are single resources that is dedicated to the client side computer, but in the web architecture that simply doesn't exist. So
So in your typical web architecture, in your web application, you have the back end, which is running on the server side. You have the front end that is being visible to the end users, the user interface.
yeah.
So how does the Swing application fit into this picture? Where does it run actually?
uh, you mean the Swing Bridge?
Yeah, like when I have my Swing application and I start the modernization journey, what
Yeah,
do I do with my Swing app?
yeah. The Swing application basically is I mean, when we try to keep the code intact as much as possible. The event dispatching thread and the event queue and the up context. Let's call all these three the swing context.
Okay.
Once you launch your application, there is a single swing context per JVM at that time. What we do here in Swing Bridge is launching all those swing contexts on a single JVM, and we isolate by the class loaders, and so that they do not clash in terms of both the data and the class path libraries that Flow server uses. And we continuously propagate events to the swing context, the relevant swing context, and poll the UI graphics environment and send the dirty regions to the browser to render again. So at the client side, the perception is there is a browser and an image in it, which is playing that you can interact with it, send events, type, and key traversals, and etc. And all the events are propagated to swing context, and the swing does what it does. We are not interested in that part. But at the end of the process, swing updates its UI, and we introspect that, we intercept those changes and push those changes piece by piece to the browser. So with this approach, we also improve the network performance so that in poor network conditions, you can still operate. Obviously, it will not be the same as a native local desktop
Mm.
application because the UI and the graphics card is all there. You
Yeah.
have it. There is the network that I mean, how far are you from the server even has an effect here. And the swing application also makes calls to other external services. In this case, the swing application's backend server might be called with through JAX VS
Mm.
or on REST services or direct JDBC accesses.
So how does the multi-tenancy work? So there is just single Swing application instance running on JVM, and that is being served to multiple users at the same time.
For this, we all stack up all the users in a single JVM heap, and we also have our research at the moment as a work in progress to optimize the memory usage. A single application will launch around like 50 or 100 megabytes when you launch it, but it will consume entire JVM.
Yeah.
But on the application server, on the Flow server side, each user adds a fraction of it, and actually we make a real good use of the available physical memory. So so with a larger it heavily depends on the application nature, by the way. If it's a large memory consuming application, then obviously the effect will be more dramatic, like you will stack up a lot less users on a single JVM.
Yeah. But at the same time, you're still saving
Yes,
hardware
still saving.
resources and using your resources smart way.
Yeah, for the local file system, we are selecting like generic approaches, because there is a encouraged way to access a file, or to make the user select a file, or to make the user download a file. So this the JFile chooser, we can intercept that and inject our Vaadin components in between to launch browser side file selector and etc. This is one way, but selecting a file or flushing content to a file has really wild approaches out there in the wild. Like we have seen examples like doing a cat command in the console and parsing the output. That's a nightmare in the multi-tenant environment. Like, so you need to go through all those processes, and the next step for us is to inspect those locations in the source code automatically with the help of Dragonfly. So we eventually end up with a list of things that we have to look for to achieve true multi-tenancy over time. We have a list to look for, and that will be also the part of the migration assessment, hopefully.
Awesome. That sounds great. Hey, there's been a few questions here. Let's pick one. what happens after the migration process is done? Like once we've completed the entire journey, are you saying that we are abandoning Swing for good?
Yes, that's actually the purpose, to abandon the application while retaining your business logic, migrate it to a web architecture, and completely eliminating the Swing application. But this heavily depends on the one enterprise's approach to the resources, or the priorities. SwingBridge gives you the flexibility to select which priority to which feature to migrate first, or not migrate at all. You can give gaps in between. If you don't, if I mean, the business uh, s- might have hard days, like it might not making cash and you don't want to invest, then you can completely pause that part and have your Swing application execute in SwingBridge for a little bit more time. But once you have you the resources, now you have the flexibility to select to invest in modernizing another use case or doing something else with regard to your business. So this gives you the flexibility. But the ultimate goal is to completely eliminate the Swing code base at the end of the journey.
Yeah, cool.
Maybe I can also just add a little bit of a context to this answer, because when I read the question here about are you assuming that after the migration is done, the term migration can actually mean a lot of different things in different contexts. So assuming that the first step of the migration is or our ultimate goal from moving from a Swing desktop application as a client for our end user is to provide everything natively on web applications. And then that's the ultimate goal. But the first step of the migration is that we can actually provide the already working Swing application on the web to our end users, so that we can have enough time and resources to do the migration over time and step by step. And for example, as mentioned by Efton, we can actually select the most important and most frequent use cases inside the application to be migrated first, while the SwingBridge provides the access on basically on the browser to the end user at the same time. So, and the beauty of this basically SwingBridge architecture that we have in Vaadin is that you are able to have the SwingBridge, basically your Swing application and the Vaadin application, which is the web part of your application, migrated parts, to work side by side and have interoperability between them. So this is the essence of SwingBridge architecture there.
And that really sounds interesting. So you're actually able to run the two side by side, maybe even like within the same screen.
Yeah.
Yep.
That sounds really interesting, and have like elements in the UI interacting with each other. If I click on the Swing side, a button, the other side, the Vaadin side, will also know that, hey, a button was clicked.
Yeah, we will also demonstrate that. Another approach that I want to add here is you don't necessarily have to select the code base from Swing application. You can set, let's say the maintenance screen or the administration screens, like user creation or creating an address definition or etc., can still be the SwingBridge side, and you can write the new business from scratch without losing anything. Like you can have different one app, the main app, the original workflow can still sit inside the Swing application, but you don't expose it to users, and write the new business workflow from scratch, talking to the same backend server, so the data is still integrated and you don't break things over the long run. There are lots of different, all the pieces are together, but depending on your willingness and your resources, timing, and your vision for the future, you can pick relevant pieces and create the architecture for yourself with the help of this toolkit era that we have, the toolkits that we have at Vaadin.
That makes sense. Like as mentioned, all those different sizes of applications and different contexts in which businesses operate. I think that sounds really good.
Yeah.
By the way, can you make your screen full size, Eftun?
Yeah.
Oops, wrong one. Let's take this one.
Uh, sorry.
Looks much better. Thanks.
Yeah, okay. So this is we have the 1.0 version at the moment, and we have set of features that we support because Swing applications can do a lot of crazy things like serial device access, like a card reader attached to your USB port. We don't support those yet at the moment, but what we support is the tenant isolation, the parts of the application that has multi-tenancy in mind, has been implemented with multi-tenancy in mind, will obviously will work fine. But if you are logging to your local, if you are logging the movements of the user to the local file system, then those parts will be breaking at the end of the day because they will try to access the same file at the server side. So you need to isolate them. We have this frame stack and model into management so that you can stack up multiple dialogues, including internal frame, J internal frames on top of each other. And obviously, key and mouse events are handled, like you can traverse the fields. File upload and download is covered with the generic approach with the J file chooser. As I said, like Swing applications has real wild ways to select files and flash content to file system. We have text only clipboard integration and the synchronization for cursor icon that you can resize those little details there. We there are still under things there are still things under development like the native operating system menu bar integration, system tray integration, or the full printer integration. But we roll out new features every other day. Like please follow the pages and newsletters, and you will get updates as
And
soon as.
I think one handy way to get in touch with you guys and to share feedback and ideas and ask questions is via our forum,
Yeah,
vaadin.com/forum. Yeah, that actually, when you mentioned about frame stacking and that stuff, it made me smile because I I remember the good old days when you had those applications and just popping new dialogues on top of the previous dialogue, and all of a sudden you had a pile of dialogues on your screen trying to get rid of those. Click,
yeah.
click, click. Good stuff. Good stuff. So yeah, that sounds really interesting. So the whole migration story very much depends on your use case, your context, and your application, and your goals. Basically, like
Yeah.
what is it that you want to do and want to achieve with the modernization exercise. So yeah, how does all this work? Shall we talk about like on the technical side of the things? How are we moving forward from here?
We can jump into demonstration if you want, because I mean the basic technical parts are already on there. Like we do the management like this, and we can just directly jump into demonstration and show it in live action.
Yeah, I think seeing things live would be super interesting to many. It's always a different thing to just talk about things, but seeing things is really interesting. Let me check if we have any further questions here in the chat. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Let me take one here. So, what are the biggest challenges teams face when incrementally migrating a large Swing application to Vaadin, and how they can mitigate the risk during the transition?
I mean, there hasn't been, as far as I know, there hasn't been any failed migration projects at Vaadin. We have been doing migrations for both V7 and V8 applications rather than Swing applications earlier. We have a good experience here in our services team. This feels like a mostly a firm services team's question. Like since here we are here for from the engineering side. Uh, that's a good question that I wonder about the answers also, but this kind of sounds like a services question to me.
Yeah.
Maybe I could, for example,
Yes,
mention something like a testing. For example, testing was done in when you are developing a Swing application, the tech stack that you use for UI testing, like integration testing on the application, could be something that may or may not be feasible to have or to continue using when you are moving to a web architecture. And then that makes, when you're migrating a mission critical business application that has been working for 30 years in Swing, and then you have at least working application, or seems to be working application in web, but what can actually make you sure to assure you that it's actually working and it's not failing, corner cases are actually done, and those kind of testing things are going to be, probably from my point of view, is the largest risk. And of course, obviously, inside the Vaadin platform, we have also UI unit testing and also integration testing tooling that actually helps us. And from the positive note, I would say, since we are migrating the Swing part of the application, or basically UI of the application, the business logic that was working before is not going to be touched. So if the architecture of a Swing application was intact, had layers in between the UI and the business logic and the database, then it could be considered to be almost to a very good percentage safe, rather than completely broken.
I would be very interested in hearing more details about the case at hand, and if possible, Giovanni, feel free to ping me via email, and we can talk more about the details. And I would be very happy to loop in our services as well, so they can provide you a much more accurate answer to your questions you might have. All right, let's take another one about events and listeners. How do we handle those?
Soros, would you go for that, or?
Yeah, from the point of view that we are talking about Swing Bridge here, the events and listeners are basically working in the same Swing context that they have been working. And for just moving your application from desktop to a web served kind of application, you don't need to touch anything. I can basically, after this, probably I can show you the demo that how you can move your Swing application to web as a small demo here. But when you are actually moving your Swing code, migrating the code from Swing architecture to the Vaadin web architecture mostly, I would say that many Swing developers find themselves at home with Vaadin API because they are resembling the same kind of mindset. Like, for example, if you have like events like clicks and typing, key types, and whatever in Swing that we have, like any sort of action listeners, basically, there are almost the same type of glossary and set of words in the Vaadin application. So we have on the other side, you have on the Vaadin code, you have key listeners and mouse listeners and etc. And that's actually really helpful for somebody that had a Swing background for many years and working and maintaining a Swing application. And then you cannot basically be lost in a way that, for example, moving from Swing to React or Vue.js or something like that. It could be like a big bang change. But then everything in Vaadin is basically written in Java, and then even the API resembles the Swing side. So if I understood correctly this question, there would be not that much of a problem after the migration.
This question has another perspective, I believe, like the web looking dialogues, like the Swing application opening a dialog and you waiting for the user interaction while the UI blocks, actually. So we have a component for that in our feature pack, which resembles the same API now. And then once you move your code, under that listener, it will behave the same way as it was doing in the Swing application, because blocking dialogues, blocking threads is not possible until version 21. Then we had virtual threads, and we utilized virtual threads to block the thread and wait for user input, and then reincarnate the process and let the thread execute sequentially. I mean, this question might be related to this blocking dialogues at the same time. So
Awesome. Hey, that was very detailed answer. Thanks. There is one cost-related question. I'll quickly show this one. I can answer. This one is a bit challenging to answer. It depends on the scale, low, medium, high. Yeah, so obviously the application at hand will have a massive impact on the effort it takes to do the migration, and obviously also the level of ambition and what is basically the goal for the whole exercise, and that will basically define how much effort you will put into that, which then again translates into financially measurable outcomes.
yeah, in the migration assessment phase, we also analyze what components are used and how much effort would it take to migrate them to web, actually. So this is actually the answer comes from the migration assessment that we also provide.
Yeah, so that's a really important thing, and super handy, because you don't have to start like totally blindfolded or starting with just assumptions at hand. Instead, you have a real hard data about your application, about your code base, and that helps you to make better educated estimations. Cool. So shall we move on to seeing how things actually work behind the scenes? I would be super interested seeing how all this work. Soros, you've prepared us a demo?
Yeah, a little one. I can show at least some things in action that working in the browser, hopefully, because when you try to demo something, what could go wrong, actually?
Live demos.
Yeah, so I'm not sure. Yeah, I guess now you can see my desktop here, and I already have one demo application up and running. This is basically my playground when I.
Before we start, can you very briefly explain what we are about to see here?
Yeah, basically in this demo first, I'm going to show you first this real world application, which is called JLawyer. It's mostly used in the German speaking countries, and it's for managing day-to-day stuff at a law firm. And basically, my German is not that good, so part of this application had not been yet internationalized properly, and I didn't want to actually touch any of this Swing application, because I just wanted to measure how we could just drag and drop this application into Swing Bridge and see if it's working or not.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's the application. It's an open source application and maintained even to date. So it's like, for example, if I can show you that in some part of the application says that use UI to, for example, read some receipts and stuff like that. So that parts are obviously not part of this demo because I disabled those features, but it needs subscription to some LLM and stuff. But it's a maintained Swing application, and it's actually here we can just look at it. So it has the architecture of a Swing desktop application and a backend which is JEE, and it's not yet Jakarta EE for some reason, I don't know. And the communication between this client and the server is basically based in JNDI lookups and RMI under the hood, under the basic levels of communication. So I have the server actually up and running on my local in a Docker container. So there's a server and a DB. And then we run the Swing site, which is the client part inside our Swing bridge canvas here on the browser, which is this one. So this is the playground application I have with different applications. This one is JLawyer, so I can just hide that part and show you the rest. So this is, as mentioned, there is this communication based on the JNDI that we are going to make. This application basically is going to make it calls to the backend over JNDI, and we are going to log in here, and then the password is A for the admin. It asks that I have an older client version, but the server is newer. It's okay. I would say yes. And then it says that your profile information is not yet entered. Do we want to do this? No. And automatic backup is not configured, so I'm not interested in that as well. So I can basically resize the application and see that this is, for example, the different views in the application. The application has many background services and jobs going on all the time. So from time to time, there are things that are being updated here, or for example, up here. And we are going to get to see some of these views. Like, for example, if I click on this, it goes to one of these cases. And then I can show you that, for example, there is this dialog stacking on top of each other case that we were talking. So this is what you see here is that I click the button inside the Swing application. It opened up in a new dialog. And this dialog is actually a Vaadin dialog that is rendering the content of that Swing dialog inside itself. So you have, at least even at this level, even without touching anything, you have some sort of a communication between the Swing and the Vaadin side of things. And for example, I can type here for this database is empty. Let's add one here. I can, for example, select the things here. I have not very good idea of what this German stuff is here, but I can say name and then family probably is this one. And it needs the registration number. Working with, for example, tab to navigate between the fields is supported, as you can see here. And another interesting field is this list of values type of field that I'm going to, for example, click. And here I can search for something like an address, which has we have a lot of bad addresses in Germany, it seems. And then by clicking that, it fills up these views. I'm sure many of our users or audience here know about this. It's not very important. So I can just save one, and then it adds this record here, and for example, another save, and then I have another record here for this name family record. And for example, clicking, it asks if it's asking if I want to save or not, and moving to another view. So I said yes, and then there are multiple views in this application that, showing a lot of stuff. The tooltips are working. I can move between these as it shows between that, for example, command and 4, or for example, command and 3, and command and something for other stuff. So things are basically working like that. I can, for example, show you this view, which is a custom component. This is one of those cases that, for example, in some Swing application, there might be very specific component that has been specifically made for that business type of logic, and it's not easily migratable at the very first, as the very first use case part of the journey of migration to web. So that's where the interoperability between the Swing part and the Vaadin part comes in. And for example, these are basically, like, for example, when you click something, this application was opening these records and another stuff. So the application mostly operational, I can show you, for example, the menus and what, for example, it can show. Like there are a lot of sub menus here in this application. I can go like one by one here. I'm not sure if it's interesting for everyone. And then, for example, this about is showing this JLawyer information about the open source application. It's actually a very interesting application if you want to go over it. But what we are, for example, another feature that I wanted to show is the file upload, for example. That you can, for example, see that the mouse, when the mouse moves here, just before the file upload, I can mention that, for example, the mouse gestures, not just, sorry, the icons that the pointer can have, as it changes in the Swing application, it's also been propagated to the browser, and you can see the feedback here, like to move things around and what are the possibilities, basically. I uploaded these files before, so I can, for example, delete them and, for example, upload another one. So I remove 9. Let's add again this file. What you have seen here was basically, let me cancel it and show it again. So when in the original Swing application, when you press this button, it was opening a J file chooser that we actually intercepted here, so that we can open the file chooser on the client side, because this Swing application is necessarily running on the server and showing just rendering the J file chooser from the original application that lists the files and directory of the server is basically pointless. So it's showing the native kind of file chooser from my browser here, and then when I click, it is uploading this to the server and providing the file, and creates a temporary path so that it doesn't collide with other file uploads and other concurrent users that actually using the same application on their browsers. And then when I press this, then the rest of the application logic continues, because so far we had actually blocked this continuation of the application, even though you cannot see any J file chooser here. So when I press this, then the file gets uploaded here, and then also it actually parsed the content so that it's showing this CSV data for us.
Hey, Soros,
yeah.
Do you mind if we take one question?
Sure, of course.
So yeah, let me just share it here. So was JLawyer a Swing application before, and did you port it into Vaadin, or like how do we?
No, it's just, yeah, exactly. So JLawyer is an application that you can go and see in this address, like jlawyer.org, and there's a link to their GitHub repository, which is an open source project.
I actually I shared the GitHub repository link.
All right, so that's the application. There is the Swing application. We haven't ported anything to Vaadin. What you see here, this is just a canvas. Like, for example, if I just resize this, you can see the boundaries of this canvas element that is rendering the graphics of the JLawyer running behind the scene on this browser. And then whatever you do to this graphic is basically being propagated to the server, applied to the Swing application that is running behind the scene in its own isolated sandbox, so that it's isolated from the other instances for other Vaadin sessions. And then we captured the updates from for example, when you click here, or for example, if I go, let me show you another thing. If you go, for example, here and click, you can see the cursor blinking there in that field as normally on a web application or a Swing application. And what happens here is that this blinking cursor is being happening on the server side. We captured that tiny update of the cursor. I can even show you here. For example, in the network, there is one, maybe this one is easier here. So there is one tiny rectangle that has no bar in it, and there is this other one that has a tiny bar painted in it, and that's all that is being ported from the server to this browser to be painted. Because if you wanted to, update the whole thing all the time, it would have taken a lot of bandwidth. But what is done here is basically partial updates that is taken from the Swing context and ported to the canvas and be painted here over the browser.
Nice. So yeah, that obviously saves some bandwidth. That's for sure, and makes the application much more responsive.
I answered the question.
I'm sure you did.
All right.
Thanks.
No worries. I could continue with another demo, which could be how our audiences can actually try their own Swing applications. How about that?
Absolutely. I think that would be super interesting to many. Like, obviously, you want to get your hands dirty and see it yourself.
All right. Before going to that, maybe we can demonstrate the multi-tenancy, that you can launch the same view with a different browser for another user, which ends up in the same server.
Yeah, why not? I can show this one more time. I hope that we don't go over time, but let me take this small and then run another browser for the same application, like localhost. This one should be, for example, it could be the same JLawyer application. And let's log in with this. At the same time, I can, for example, open another browser here and bring it to the local host, to the same view. And let's get it there. So I guess it's a very good thing that we clear up the meaning of this multi-tenancy, because the application server, which is a Vaadin, not an application server in that traditional meaning, but it's a Vaadin application. And it's the only version that is running at the moment is one single JVM serving the Vaadin application, but different users are at the same time working. For example, I could even, like this user wants to do something here, goes to this view, and for example, it opens up one dialog or something. Then this other user can actually freely work with the application. So none of them are have anything to do with each other. They are running in their own isolated app context, separate from each other, but residing on the same JVM as the Vaadin application is running. So everything is basically separated. Not sure. Yeah. So
cool. That's awesome.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the multi-tenancy part. Let me just stop the application and show you. So I guess in one of those slides that we had in the beginning, there was a link to this skeleton starter Vaadin Swing bridge. This is a pre-configured skeleton of a Vaadin application that is already configured with the needed libraries and everything that you might need for running your Swing application inside this and serve it on the browser. So, and there is a detailed README here to how to run this and what is it about. And for example, I will get to review all of this as fast as I can, but let's first run this and see what it does. So as it's mentioned here in the README, it says that nvn clean Spring Boot run is the way for running the application. It is served on this address. I can open the browser here and look at the port 8088. So what you see here is just a very simple application. It's mostly just for the demonstration that it works. Like, for example, there is this menus, which is very basic menus, and then you can see that there are some views that are only changing this tiny text here. But there are a couple of actually good things here to show that. For example, if you click, you can see the content of that thing, and all of these are basically, the whole thing is a Swing application. This is a Vaadin dialog, but it's the only thing Vaadin is this title here. The rest is a canvas that, again, it's basically showing the content of the same dialog inside the Swing application, as we have already seen in the demonstration. So this is just a sample application included here to show you that this is working. When you are running this Swing skeleton application on your desktop, you just want to see this when you hit the route of the application. But what we are interested in to see here is that how we can run our own application. So there is this very special directory inside this application project, and it calls app leads. There are details here about what it is and what it does, but in short is the Swing Bridge library. When it runs, it looks into this directory and loads the jar file here. Whatever jar file or set of jar files are here are being loaded to the context of this instance that you are trying to run. And from the point of view of what you have seen here, so how to bring this image finally to the browser, it's that there is, I included one view here, and it's called warehouse view. What's inside is that it is a Vaadin view. Normally in Vaadin applications, you have your class, Java class that extends one of the layouts, or it could, for example, extend div component or whatever else. But my favorite one is vertical layout because it's basically stacking up things on top of each other, and it's mostly a very convenient component to extend with, to have a graphical thing on the browser. And then the other important thing here is this route annotation that makes the Vaadin to create a route for your new views. And I'm going to add another view here in a short time. There would be one a small Swing application. Basically, it's vibe coded Swing application just for demoing purposes. So I'm going to basically copy this jar file here to the same applib directory. And there you go. And then there is.
So just to recap, all you do is you create a file, a new view, you give it a root, say /my application. You define the main class and add that to your view, and that's it.
Yeah, I will get to that. So it's like, now I will do exactly what you said. So for example, I call this one CRM view. It's a Java class. I don't want to add it here. I would extend vertical layout as mentioned. I will add a route here, and it's called CRM. So when we hit the /CRM in the application, it will serve us this view, what the contents of this view. And what I want to have here, I want to add a new, basically Swing Bridge component. And what I would like to pass here, or basically what I have to pass here, is the fully qualified name of the class that contains the main method for the Swing application.
Can you slightly increase the font size, please?
Yeah, sure. Let's just maybe.
There we go.
Yeah.
Now,
thanks for that.
People on the back row can see as well.
Exactly. I totally forgot about that. Sorry. So what I want to pass to this Swing Bridge component is the fully qualified name of the class inside this jar file that has the main class to run this application. So I would go here just to look at this CRM application. Let me just copy the name of the main class, and it's residing inside com swing CRM. So what I would like to pass here is com.swing CRM and the name of the class. So if I just restart the application, what we are going to see is that now we have a new route in our Vaadin application. Apart from the this one, maybe it's bigger, easier to read. So this one was the root, and now the new view is serving our new Swing application at /CRM. So if I move to the Chrome, the application, the original one is up and running. I would like to run another, I would like to see basically the other route here. So the /CRM is now showing this application, and it has many different views, and basically just for the demonstration purposes here. And just double clicking, opening, closing other stuff, and it's basically as easy as that. So what we have already seen here is just how to have a new or your own Swing application be ported to the browser using the 2 steps: copy your Swing application jar file or the set of jar files it needs. It can be as many as, for example, the driver for the JDBC, your specified look and feel for the application, other resources, whatever. So you are going to put everything in this applibs directory. Obviously, there are ways to change the name of this directory if you want, so you can read the README, but from the convention side, convention over configuration attitude, we have this applibs directory, and then just create a view, new component, which is called Swing Bridge, and then pass the main class of the application here. Of course, if your Swing application takes arguments, command line arguments, when you're running, for example, java-java, sorry for that, and then passing some command line arguments, you also are able to basically to do, for example, new string array here and pass, for example, whatever command, arguments it needs to be passed to the application when it runs that. But if your application doesn't have that, you don't bother, so you can just do this.
Awesome. Hey, Soros, can you very, very briefly, one more time, explain how the communication between the backend and what user sees in the screen, how does it work? Is it using common object request broker architecture, or how does the communication happen?
Between this canvas and our backend here, if I understood correctly. Okay,
yeah, that's so.
All right. So in Vaadin, it's not anything specific related to the Swing Bridge. In Vaadin, there is this specific kind of protocol that helps to minimize the size of the things that are being propagated between the client and the server, and then how to render the changes on the client again. So we haven't touched any of that. So this is very standard kind of communication. And in Vaadin, there is this. So when you create a view, generally any sort of view either have a Swing Bridge in it or not. It's the communication stays the same. It's always catching the events on the client side through the Vaadin client libraries that are residing as JavaScript on the client side, and then they are propagating the basically the events and everything to the server. Server intercepts and understand that this is okay. It's a Vaadin request that I'm getting, and then it basically gives it to the actual listener so that it can react on that. And then the changes in the state of the application according to this event is being propagated back. So it's a standard Vaadin. It's nothing special like old-fashioned. But whatever the Swing application has, for example, did that JLawyer we've seen before, it is communicating with its own server through, for example, JNDI and RMI. And that basically can continue working so that the server side, for example, can run on Java, whatever, 8 or something. It doesn't really matter. And our audience, if they have an old application server like that can only run on Java 8 or something, they don't even have to touch that. It can continue living forever. But what we have here on the Vaadin side is that the minimum Java version is Java 21, and then the Swing application should run basically because it's backward compatible. So it is running still on the same JVM as the Vaadin application runs.
So you kind of get to combine, like you have the old Java version in use, for whatever reason you're not able to switch to a newer version, but at the same time you get the benefits of the modern Java via the Vaadin.
Yeah, exactly. For example, this the jailer application that I showed you before, I'm not sure what is the recommended version. Even I didn't check because Swing is still supported on Java versions that we are getting. And basically if it runs on the server that contains any Java version, we are good to go with embedding it into Swing Bridge and bring it to the browser.
Cool. Awesome. Hey, we are already beyond our scheduled time slot. So apologies for the audience. It's been super interesting session. I've really enjoyed, especially the demo part. Thank you so much, Soros, for demoing all this. It's looking amazing. We did have one more question. Let's quickly take that one. So what about Java FX apps? Anything with that regard?
Of course. Obviously, a while ago, I was just experimenting two things, that how we support JavaFX. JavaFX can, I've seen JavaFX in two forms in the, desktop or client-side applications. One is that it's pure JavaFX applications. I'm not sure how many of these are there actually. And there is another one which is more prominent from what I've seen so far, is that there are Java Swing applications, and part of that application is running inside JavaFX. Like, for example, a view or something is created, for example, as using JavaFX APIs. They can coexist. And then, for example, the JLawyer that I showed before, it has two of those views are actually JavaFX views. And then we saw basically we support that completely fine, because when the JavaFX is running inside the Swing container, like a window or a dialog or a top-level component, the graphics, simply put it into this word, that the graphics of the application is being written to the same graphic buffer, and we capture it and we put it here on the Swing Bridge. If it's a pure no Swing JavaFX application, then I also created another version of the Swing Bridge from scratch. It's of course experimental and it's not a production ready thing yet, but it's of course we are brewing the support for that as well, for very pure ones. But the most prominent basically pattern that I've seen in the Swing applications is that part of these Swing applications are migrated or written in JavaFX, and then they are supported already with this library that we launched recently out of the box. There's no need to change anything regarding that. The only thing is that the JDK, or basically the runtime environment of the Java that runs the application, should have JavaFX libraries in it. So the distribution should contain the JavaFX. Other than that, nothing is changing.
Awesome, cool. Hey, we've got some further questions, so let's try to hit as many as we can. So after the migration, what happens if I'm using graphics 2D? Will it still work?
Well, after migration, there's no any graphics to the object around. I mean, if the migration has succeeded, you should be executing Vaadin components, and everything is in Vaadin is everything is web architecture, and you shouldn't be seeing any Swing code in the migrated code. So there won't be any graphics 2D. But if you proceed to make the Swing bridge execute for a longer time, then you can write your Swing application and you can implement and improve your Swing application, and the changes are immediately reflected to web through Swing bridge.
So what do I do with my graphics 2D element? Like I will re-implement it using something else.
Yes, that's the way to
Yeah,
go.
there are actually in Vaadin there are two ways of doing so. So there are this Canvas API on the browser that is wrapped inside Vaadin components that you can have. There is this. I'm not sure. I don't have it at hand right now, but there is this very cool GitHub repository that one of our colleagues have supported for many years, and it's called Vaadin Vitrin.
Vaadin.
And Vitrin or Viritin, I'm not sure yet.
Yeah.
So that one is actually showcasing a lot of different components that they are not conventional Vaadin, web components. But for example, it supports for drawing and everything. So you can do using that type of components in Java side, or if you are if you need a very special case of, I'm not sure how many special cases out there, but there is all the time this possibility of going fully web and using JS stuff to render whatever you want. One thing I forgot to show here was this. Maybe I can just share my screen one more time for 15 seconds, and I'm gonna show you one thing that I forgot, because there is this. I created a showcase. I'm not sure if I'm still able. If you are seeing.
Yeah. Just a second. I'll share your screen. There we go.
Yeah. So this example I forgot to show. This is one of the good things. So it's part of a Swing application. It's not a full Swing application. And then, for example, this part is already a Vaadin part of the view. So the master is residing in the Swing, and the detail and the form basically is in Vaadin. It's, for example, responsive. You can basically do this, and you see that this is the web part. And then when you click on these records, then it shows that the data is being passed to this one. And if you, for example, want to change things here, you can see that David is here, and I just save the changes, and now it's David whatever here. So
David with the numbers.
Yeah, so it's basically possible to add new records and, for example, do whatever you want, like changing the order of the columns and everything. So in the worst case scenario, if you have a very special use case for drawing on a 2D and you cannot migrate it easily, then this is your solution. So you have something like this as a drawing panel running in Swing, and then the rest of the view can be still in the web Vaadin.
So what happens if Swing is no more supported by modern Java version?
Well, that's a real big problem. We may be the last ones to think about this if the Swing is not supported by any Java newer versions, because there is a lot of applications out there in the wild going in full production, full mission critical applications out there. Don't know if we should find a way to survive them.
Well, then I guess we just need to make more noise about Swing Modernization Toolkit and let everyone know that there is a way you can get off the hook. Cool.
One more reason to do the migration and move to web faster.
Yes, indeed. All righty. Hey, really good stuff. Thank you so much, Eftin, for presenting Swing Modernization Toolkit. Soros, thank you so much for giving us a really, really interesting demo or multiple demos. Really appreciate that. And if you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to have any conversations, hearing more about your use cases. What do you have in mind regarding modernization? And just one more time, here is a link to the documentation. I'll share that in the description as well on YouTube. So yeah, give it a try. And one thing to remember here is that our Swing Modernization Toolkit is a licensed product, and we have a bit hairy licensing system with some technicalities, meaning that this week we have lifted off the license key checker from the Swing Modernization Toolkit. So give it a try. Try SwingBridge, see how it works. If you hit any troubles, let us know. We want to hear about those. If you think it's cool, let us know. We really want to hear about that too. But in either case, give it a try. And in case you watch this video on YouTube after this week and the license checker is in place, ping us. We'll make sure that we have a nice trial set up for you. And with that, I think we will say thank you for everyone, wave for goodbye, and see you next time. Thank you all. Have a great day.